Welcome to my channel Starlight Sci-Fi Stories. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more part 1. The arrival. The twin suns of Kytharan hung low in the sky, casting long, sharp shadows across the city. The streets of the capital glimmered like metal under the dying light, a maze of towers and bridges built for those who ruled, and those who obeyed. From above, it looked like beauty. From below, it smelled of fear. In the heart of the city was the market of chains. It was not a market for food or goods. It was a place where the powerless were displayed like objects, and the powerful decided their worth. Creatures from a dozen worlds hung in cages, chained to metal posts, or tied with glowing restraints. The air rang with the laughter of merchants, the clinking of chains, and the occasional sharp scream that quickly faded into silence. Among the many unfortunate souls was one figure who drew attention not just because of her beauty, but because of her quiet, unbroken defiance. Her silver skin shimmered under the twin suns. Her hair fell like liquid night, covering part of her bruised face. Above her hung a crude wooden sign, carved in bold letters, "Take as you wish." The crowd of aliens laughed and jeered. Some snapped pictures, others threw scraps of food and waste. They had grown accustomed to seeing beings suffer. To them, she was nothing more than entertainment. Yet she did not cry. She did not beg. Her deep, violet eyes scanned the crowd, searching, waiting, maybe hoping. Far away, in the shadow of the great towers, a human watched. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a long, worn jacket that marked him as an outsider. His eyes, sharp and calculating, took in every detail. His name was Captain Elias Ward, a human far from home, stranded in a galaxy that barely remembered his kind. He had fought wars, faced monsters, and walked through fire. But nothing had prepared him for this. Elias did not move at first. He simply watched the scene unfold. The alien guards patrolled lazily, some enjoying the show, others indifferent. But one thing became clear immediately: they expected no interference. No one dared to challenge the market of chains. Not for centuries. And yet, something in Elias stirred. The moment felt eternal. He could feel the heat from the twin suns, the buzz of alien voices, the tension in the air. He took a step forward. Then another. The crowd barely noticed him. But the woman in chains, the one with silver skin, did. Her eyes flickered, recognition of something she had almost forgotten: hope. "You shouldn't be here," one of the guards said, stepping forward. His voice was rough, like gravel against metal. "Humans are weak. Stay back." Elias's hand rested on the hilt of a small, human-made weapon strapped to his side. He did not respond. He merely looked at the woman. There was no fear in his gaze, only determination. The guards laughed. "Go on, hero," one of them sneered. "Save her if you dare. Humans are extinct here. You are nothing." A shiver ran down the crowd. The tension in the air grew thick. Merchants paused, uncertain if the human would act. The woman, Lyravan, as he would soon learn her name, watched him with wide, cautious eyes. And then Elias moved. He strode forward, deliberately, like someone carrying not only his own courage but the weight of an entire species. The crowd fell silent. The laughter stopped. The guards stiffened. The first thing he noticed was the chains. They were thick, alien-forged, glowing faintly with a strange energy that burned anyone who touched them. No one had ever broken these chains before. Elias didn't hesitate. He crouched beside her and studied the locks. His fingers worked fast, tracing the strange patterns. Lyravan's eyes followed every movement. For a moment, she looked away, unsure if this human was like the others, playing games, mocking her. But then he whispered softly, so only she could hear, "I'm not here to take you. I'm here to set you free." Her breath caught. She didn't believe him. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not with kindness, not with hope. The guards noticed. They shouted, pointing their weapons, ready to strike. Elias's hand was already on his sidearm. His movements were calm, precise. In a single, fluid motion, he disabled the first guard. Another rushed at him, but he was faster, stronger, smarter. The crowd gasped. Chains rattled. Lyravan's heart pounded. She did not move. She could not move. Fear froze her limbs. But something in the human's presence made her hope again. He reached the locks. The metal was alien, nearly unbreakable. He studied it carefully, then took a small tool from his belt. Sparks flew as he worked. The guards shouted again. Merchants began to panic. But Elias did not falter. Minutes felt like hours. Then, with a final click, the locks fell open. The chain slid away. Lyravan was free. She stumbled, weak from weeks of abuse, and he caught her gently. The crowd erupted, half in anger, half in awe. No one had ever seen a human defy the market of chains and live. Elias lifted her to her feet. She clung to him, trembling. For the first time in years, her fear was mixed with a tiny spark of something she had almost forgotten: freedom. "You're safe now," he said. His voice was low, steady, and calm amidst the chaos. "But we have to move. They will come for us." The city's alarms began to blare. Spotlights scanned the streets. Guards shouted orders. The humans, and Lyravan, were already moving, slipping into the shadows, disappearing into the labyrinthine alleys of Kytharan. And somewhere deep in the market, a murmur spread through the crowd. A human, he dared. No one had ever dared. No one, until now. Part 2, The Escape. The alleyways of Kytharan were a maze of metal and shadow, twisting and turning like the insides of a machine. Captain Elias Ward and Lyravan moved swiftly, the city lights bouncing off the steel walls above them. Every step echoed softly, every shadow seemed alive. They were hunted, but for the first time, Lyravan felt something she had not felt in years: hope. "Where are we going?" she whispered, her voice shaky. Elias didn't answer immediately. His eyes scanned every corner, every rooftop. "Somewhere safe, for now," he said finally. "We need to put distance between us and the market. They won't forgive what just happened." Lyravan's arms trembled as she held herself close. "They will kill us," she said. Her voice was low, filled with disbelief. "They always kill anyone who interferes." Elias shook his head. "Not this time. I won't let them." The market had eyes everywhere, cameras and watchers that reported to the city's overlords. But Elias had a plan. Years as a soldier, years as a fugitive, had taught him how to vanish in plain sight. He led Lyra through a hidden path beneath the city, a series of maintenance tunnels that smelled of oil and rust. Water dripped from the ceilings, and the echoes of distant patrols rang like warning bells. Lyravan shivered. "I've never seen a human like you." "What do you mean?" Elias asked without looking back. "You fight like no one else. You move like you know the city even though it isn't yours. And you risk your life for me." Elias paused, crouched to move a loose grate, and whispered, "Because someone has to. If no one does, the world stays the same. Don't you understand?" She did, but the thought was overwhelming. She had been taught since birth that humans were extinct, weak, unworthy. And here he was, a human, defying everything, saving her. She wanted to speak, but words failed her. They moved through the tunnels in silence for several minutes. The faint glow from overhead lights was barely enough to see by. Then, a loud clank echoed from behind. Elias froze. He signaled Lyra to stay low. 3 patrol guards were entering the tunnel. They had trackers. They had seen him flee the market. They would not stop until he was captured, or dead. Elias's mind raced. There was a small side tunnel leading to the old substation, a forgotten place where humans once lived before the Empire took control. It was risky, but it was the only way. He grabbed Lyra's hand. "Run on my mark," he whispered. The guards' footsteps grew louder. Their voices, sharp and cruel, echo. "D in the tunnel. Stop. Human, don't let her escape." Elias's heart pounded. He wasn't afraid, he had faced worse, but fear didn't matter. The woman beside him was weaker, slower. Her life was in his hands. He counted silently, 1, 2, 3. Now, they dashed into the side tunnel. The guards shouted, but it was too late. Elias had anticipated every step, every turn. The tunnel narrowed, forcing the aliens to slow down. The humans' agility gave them the advantage. They disappeared into the shadows, leaving confusion behind. Finally, they emerged into a long abandoned maintenance bay. Broken machinery and flickering lights made the place look like a graveyard. Elias dropped to one knee, breathing heavily, while Lyra collapsed against the wall. "You're safe, for now," he said. But his eyes were already scanning the entrances. He knew the danger wasn't gone. Lyravan's eyes were wide with awe. How did you get us here?" she asked. "I know this city," he said simply. "Better than anyone alive. And I know what they fear most, a human who refuses to obey." She shook her head. "You risked everything. Why?" He looked at her, his face serious. "Because someone has to. Someone has to remind them that humans are not weak. That life is worth more than chains." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She had never believed in heroes. She had never believed in mercy. But she was beginning to understand. The maintenance bay was not safe for long. The alien governor would have issued a bounty by now, a reward for capturing the human and killing the slave. They had no time to rest. Elias led Lyra deeper into the bay, where old maintenance shafts ran like veins beneath the city. As they moved, Lyra spoke softly. Before I was captured, I worked in the central labs. I saw things. Horrible things. Experiments. Slaves. They used data to control every world, every species. If anyone knew the truth, they could stop it. Elias's interest peaked. Do you have proof? She nodded, producing a small crystal from a hidden pouch. It glowed faintly, like a heartbeat. This is everything. If it reaches the council, the Empire could fall. Elias took it carefully, feeling the weight of its power. Then our job isn't just to survive, he said. It's to make sure the truth escapes with us. The sound of approaching drones broke the moment. Elias pulled her down behind a rusted wall. Mechanical eyes scanned the bay, searching for heat signatures. The drones were fast, relentless. One passed directly above them. Lyra held her breath. Elias's hand tightened around her shoulder. You trust me? He asked. She nodded, swallowing hard. I do. Good, he said, because we're not out yet. The drones moved on, and the two continued through the abandoned tunnels. Eek. Each step brought them closer to the outskirts of the city, but the tension never left. Every shadow could hide a soldier, every sound could signal their end. After what felt like hours, they reached a ventilation shaft leading to the old city ruins, once a hub for humans before the Empire enslaved their worlds. It was dangerous, but it was the only way to escape undetected. Elias pried open the metal grate, and Lyra crawled through first, her body weak but her spirit stronger than ever. He followed, closing the grate behind them. Outside, the wind was harsh, cold, and freeing. The ruins stretched before them, silent and broken, yet offering the promise of freedom. Lyra finally looked at him fully. I don't understand, humans are extinct here. Yet you risked everything. Why? Elias's face softened. Because even if humans are few, even if hope is rare, it still exists. And someone has to fight for it. Someone has to remind the galaxy that life is worth more than chains. Lyra smiled faintly for the first time in years. She had been a slave, a prisoner, and now she had a protector. A human who defied everything. And as the twin suns of Kytharan dipped below the horizon, casting the ruins in shadow and light, Elias and Lyra disappeared into the night, chased by danger but driven by hope. Somewhere deep in the city, the market of chains would remember them. The Empire would remember them. And for the first time, the galaxy would know that a human could not be underestimated. Part 3, The Hidden Refuge. The ruins stretched for miles, a maze of crumbling buildings, rusted towers, and abandoned streets. Elias and Lyra moved quickly, sticking to the shadows, avoiding patrol drones that hummed through the air like deadly insects. Each corner of the city reminded him of how powerful the Empire was, and how fragile life seemed beneath its rule. Finally, Elias stopped at a narrow alley between two collapsed skyscrapers. He pressed his back against the wall and turned to Lyra. We're close, he said. There's a place where they can't reach us, at least for now. Lyravan's legs trembled from exhaustion. She had run farther than she ever thought possible. Her bruises burned, her arms ached, and yet she felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time in years, she wasn't chained. She wasn't a possession. She was alive, and someone cared enough to save her. Elias led her through the debris, stepping carefully over broken glass and rusted metal. The city noises faded behind them, replaced by the eerie silence of the ruins. Occasionally, a distant scream or clanging metal reminded him that danger was never far away. After what felt like an eternity, Elias stopped in front of a collapsed building. He pressed his hand against a hidden panel in the wall, and a section of the debris slid away, revealing a narrow tunnel. This way, he said. It's old. Humans used it during the early days, before the Empire took control. Lyra crawled inside first, her heart pounding. The tunnel was dark, damp, and narrow, but it felt safer than the streets above. Elias followed, closing the panel behind them. The sound of footsteps and alarms in the distance reminded them that the city was hunting them. Every second counted. The tunnel led him to an underground chamber, a hidden refuge carved into the bedrock beneath the ruins. Dust covered the floor, and broken furniture littered the corners, but it was intact enough to hide from the Empire. A small stream of water trickled through a crack in the wall, and faint sunlight filtered in from above through tiny holes in the ceiling. Lyra sank to the ground, her body trembling. "Is this safe?" she asked. Elias shook his head, a small smile on his face. "Safe enough for now. They won't find us here easily. But we can't stay long. They'll search every inch of the city eventually." She looked around the chamber, taking in the broken walls, the shadowed corners, and the faint smell of mold. For the first time in years, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: freedom. Elias knelt beside her, checking the small crystal she had hidden from the aliens. Its soft glow reflected in his eyes. "This is important," he said quietly. "If we can get this to the Council, it could expose the Empire's crimes. Your suffering, none of it would be in vain." Lyra stared at him, her heart heavy. "I never thought anyone would care," she whispered. "Not anyone, but you risked everything for me." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "Because someone has to. If not me, then who? If not now, then when?" The chamber was quiet except for the sound of dripping water. Lyra looked around, realizing that they were not just hiding, they were planning. Planning for something bigger than escape. For the first time, she felt like a participant, not a victim. Elias stood, peering into the shadows. "We need to rest, but keep your weapon ready." He reached into his jacket and handed her a small stun blaster. "It won't kill, but it will give us a chance if they find us." Lyra nodded, gripping the weapon tightly. She didn't feel entirely safe, but she felt stronger than she had in years. "I've never fought before," she admitted softly. "You've survived," Elias said firmly. "That counts for more than most soldiers." They settled in the chamber, using old crates as seats. Elias kept watch near the entrance while Lyra leaned against the wall, exhausted. Her mind replayed the events at the Market of Chains. The chains, the mocking aliens, the fear, and then Elias, walking toward her, full. Determined. She had thought humans were gone, but here was one who reminded her what humanity could be. Hours passed in tense silence. Occasionally, they heard distant patrols or the low hum of drones scanning the ruins. Lyra tried to sleep, but the fear and pain made it impossible. Elias noticed and placed a reassuring hand on her back. "Close your eyes," he said. "We're still here. You're safe, at least for tonight." Finally, Lyra's eyes fluttered shut. Elias continued to watch, alert to every sound. His mind raced with plans. The crystal was powerful, proof of the Empire's cruelty, but it made him targets. He knew they couldn't move until the night was darkest. He checked their supplies, a few rations, water, and the stun blaster. Not much, but enough to survive for a while. He whispered to himself, "We'll make it. We have to." Suddenly, a faint sound echoed through the chamber, metal scraping against metal. Elias froze. Lyra stirred. The sound grew louder. Someone, or something, was trying to enter the chamber. Elias grabbed Lyra and pulled her into a shadowed corner. "Stay quiet," he whispered. No sudden movements. The door at the entrance shuddered. Someone was forcing it open. Elias held his breath. His hands gripped the stun blaster tightly, ready. Lyra's eyes widened in fear. A figure stepped through the opening, a lone patrol scout, a small drone hovering beside him. He didn't notice the shadows. Elias waited. When the scout was close enough, Elias acted. A precise throw of a small device created a flash of light and a loud noise. The scout stumbled, blinded. The drone's senses went haywire. Elias grabbed Lyra and pulled her through a hidden side exit, a small tunnel running deeper into the ruins. They moved silently, hearts pounding. The scout would recover soon, but by then, they would be gone. Hours later, they found a larger underground chamber, a real hidden refuge. This place had been used by humans long ago. Supplies, maps, and tools were scattered about. It wasn't much, but it was a sanctuary. Lyra finally allowed herself to breathe. "We made it," she whispered. Elias nodded. "For now, but we can't stop. Not until the Empire knows we are coming." Lyra looked at him, awe in her eyes. You truly are human," she said. Elias smiled faintly. "We are more than you think. And sometimes, the smallest spark of courage can burn down an empire." For the first time since she was chained in the Market of Chains, Lyra felt hope. And with hope came strength, a strength she never knew she had. As the twin moons of Kytharan rose above the ruins, casting pale light into the hidden refuge, Elias and Lyra prepared for the journey ahead. Their escape was not just for survival, it was the beginning of a fight that could change the galaxy forever. Outside, the city slept, unaware that two fugitives had already begun the spark of rebellion.